let us continue. Yeah, in the last session, so we have started learning of Spring DAO model. So as part of that, so we have discussed about Spring JDBC. Okay, so how JDBC is simplifying our job. Okay, and how do we get the database connection? So using Spring database, right? So I think so that is what we have seen in the last session. It's overall of the discussion how Spring JDBC providing you built-in template classes, how that will be used for to connect or for to perform any operations in the database, right? I think so that is what we have really did until the last session. Okay, so this session I'll try to show you the practical hands-on of those concepts. So meanwhile I'm also launching the Eclipse and then STS, so for your reference. Yeah, it's launching. So meanwhile let me also launch the database. Either we can connect to Oracle database or MySQL, any database is fine, so we can use. Okay, okay, so looks like both of them are still not responding. Okay, data access, right? So part of the JDBC access, right? And this one is what we have discussed yesterday, right? So we have a built-in class called JDBC template. So using this built-in class, which we can perform all the DB related operations, right? All the DB related operations which we can perform. Okay, so let's wait for 1-2 minutes. Yeah, STS is came back, I guess. Okay, I'll launch the STS. And so what we will do at this time, so we know how to add a Maven project, right? So I don't want to spend over there, right? So simply what I will do, I will try to continue with importing of my existing application. So we will run the so examples. I will explain you how those examples has been created and how they are functioning. So I will explain you one by one. Okay. Okay, so workspace is launched, and thank you, Mr. Ankur, for adding a WhatsApp group. I think it's really useful. Okay, so please everyone else share your numbers so that you will add all our contacts over there. Okay. All right. So yeah, I was just mute. So about to launch the STS. Okay. Now STS is launched, and I'll import. Okay. First JDBC basic application. Then so we will try to look at other applications as well. So I will import. Hopefully everybody knows like how do we import existing project into our application, right? I'm doing that step now. So existing project into workspace. Okay. Browse the location of the project. So I will browse from the my workspace. Okay. Yeah. So I have a project with the name called Spring DAO JDBC Template project. So that is the name of the project. So first let's see this example. So okay, I will copy this project into workspace and click on finish it. So the whole workspace, so whole project will be imported and along with the dependencies, and we will order, okay, according to our sequential. So I think it came somewhere around here in 13. So I will reorder the name. Okay, so it is is importing, so I think almost done. Okay, I will try to refactor this project and then I will make a changes to our series. How do we refactor this project? Right click, refactor, rename. What is that? I'm seeing some other approach also. Refactor, rename Maven artifact also. Can we try this? So what will happen? Yeah, I think it is a better if you do this. I think something is option very newly which I am saying this. Okay, Spring DAO module JDBC template project. Okay, so that's it. Rename Eclipse project in workspace. I'll also select this. Okay, and if you want to preview, we can preview this. I don't know, first time I am trying to attempting this. I have not used any time this. Okay, so it is looking like it is also modifying the form.xml file, and it is also showing you that these are all the changes it is making. Well and good, right? So everywhere it is automatically identifying the changes and then it is applying. Hope this is doing good job. So now I am renaming. Yes, it is done perfectly. Okay, so now all the errors has been resolved automatically. So because as this is a Maven project, it will resolve automatically, right? So now let me explain you a simple example, so which I am trying to showing you. So using Spring configuration file, you know how to add it. Okay, you know how Maven project will be created. So the same steps which I am following here, nothing pretty new here. So let me open the pom.xml file for especially for JDBC module. So you need to add few additional libraries. What those libraries are, have a look at. So these are all we already know: core jars, beans jar, context.jar file. So which we have used for across all other Maven applications. For especially for JDBC, if you want to use, so you have to use a dependent library called Spring-JDBC. Okay, the same thing in the Maven repository, search and copy paste it. And apart from that, so you need to also use the your driver, right? So database driver. So let it get added everything from the Maven itself. Even database drivers also you can directly get it from the Maven repository, then add it here. Okay, so these two I added specially for this JDBC application. That's it. So nothing else. And let me show you that dependencies as well. If you see here for JDBC, you are able to see jdbc.jar, and it is built-in transaction management it performs. So you are able to see transaction.jar as well, and then so MySQL connector.jar. So all the jars are being sitting here itself. Okay, and rest all the jars are which we have already used. So next, so if you want to configure the data source and if you want to configure the database, okay, so then so we can add a data source in our application. So here is the data source which we configured. Okay, for this, so you need to enable the JDBC schema. Yeah, someone else has a questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, a question actually.
Yeah.
When we search in Maven repository keyword MySQL, we found three three records. One is MySQL connector /j. Another one is connector /mxj. So what is the difference between that j and mxj?
Yeah, we will be using connector
One is
J
type.
version. We are using connector
Okay,
J
J, right?
version. That is the only official JDBC drive. Okay.
Oh, so MXJ, what is that? Is that updated version of that J or
I think that's not the version so which we are using, so I don't know about that version. So but officially MySQL JDBC driver is connector J version.
okay, yeah.
Let me show you in the official website of MySQL for just your knowledge purpose. Okay, simply you can write MySQL JDBC driver. Okay, so here is the official website. It describes you about the driver details. Okay, connector J. So MySQL connector J is the official JDBC driver for MySQL. Okay. All right. So that's what which I have downloaded then added. All right. So now going back to here. So we need to configure as a bean. Okay. I'm using a Spring configuration file again because I'm trying to configuring a built-in configuration. So here is the built-in configuration. So what I'm adding. Driver manager data source will automatically prepare you a data source object and it will create a virtual pool and then it will give you the pool of connection. So the pool of connection.
We have not covered this. Previously, we have not made this configuration, right?
We have
When you
seen,
take
right?
like this JDBC template and all, we have not wrote before, right? This is first time
Yes,
we are doing.
yes, first time we are doing. Exactly.
So how come it came actually?
Which one?
Means this all configuration in Spring config and all means in POM also.
Yeah, I have written manual everything.
Okay.
Okay. And if you see this, okay, how do you know this driver manager fully qualified path? I showed you in the last session. So from where do we get this? Okay, I showed you in the last session. So here is what, okay, you need to get the driver manager data source, right? The
Yeah,
last
right.
time I showed you to, okay, copy this and paste here. That's what I just copy pasted here. And then I changed my values to what database which I'm going to connecting and I changed that detail.
Srini, if you wanted to know for other DB, where do we get it? Is in the same document or is it a different document?
No, no, this driver manager data source will work for all other database.
Okay, it's not specific to any particular DBA. Okay.
Exactly. It is not a particular database. The only thing is your connection configuration strings need to be changed. So
Oh,
the
okay,
driver
okay.
class URL, username and password. If your
Okay, okay.
driver
Your
URL,
URL
username and password,
varies. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
exactly. So these details will vary from okay database to database.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So right. So now, and I'm just passing all these values instead of this. Okay, properties. I'm replacing this with okay our my own database configuration details. Okay, and let me change the database name to Java Learning DB. Okay, maybe this is the database which we can use to perform any operations. Okay, so instead of DB, I'll change to this database. I hope everybody knows the URL, right? Username and password and admin. So these are all basic concepts in Java. So once your data source is ready, so MySQL data source object is ready. So who will prepare this data source connection, connecting, pool, everything is a built-in class called driver manager data source. Okay, the moment this driver manager data source is providing us the data source class, you can prepare a JDBC template object directly by injecting your data source. Okay, simply I am preparing JDBC template class, so just some bean name, okay, some JDBC template obj or id, whatever you want you can mention. And so here is the fully qualified class name for JDBC template class, and this class is I'm just writing it depends on attribute, depends on this data source is prepared, then only do this, and then I'm injecting data source. The moment so that you inject a data source, so this object is ready. So once this is ready, you know how to play. Okay, you know how to play in the database operations, so JDBC database operations. So which we discussed in the last time. So if you want to execute any select query, update query, delete query, all the different queries, so which we have seen how it will just a one line of code which you need to write to play with this. Yeah, here, okay, JDBC template object, now you can inject it to whichever the DAO class that you want, and just update means update, insert means insert, delete means delete, select means select. You can do all this as a regular operations. Okay, that's the only part important, is very important cases. The configuration part is important. Okay, so even that is also not such a difficult. Okay, it is very easy. So the second
Srini,
either, yeah,
sorry to interrupting you. This JDBC template is similar to statement in traditional JDBC.
yeah, you can say yes, you can say yes. So once if you have a statement object, so simply to execute your queries on the database, right? Exactly, I think you can have a similar with this. Okay, it is similar to your prepared statement or similar to statement, or it's a callable statement. So all the jobs of statement, prepared statement, callable statement can perform by using the template object. Okay. So that is a case number one. Suppose if you want to prepare directly, this is a built-in JDBC template class like this, so you can use that approach. Or the second case, you can also write a separate class. Maybe I have written a class called database manager is a class. What I'm doing is, for this class I'm injecting data source class. Okay, so once if I inject a data source here, okay, based after getting the data source, then I'm preparing the JDBC template objects. So here what I'm doing in the case 2. In this case 2, what I'm doing here, I have a DB manager where my all the database connection, JDBC template objects, so everything I want to be maintained here. So I have written database manager is a class, and in this class what I'm doing is I've written a setter method for to inject the data source. The data source has been injected here. I've also written a get method for to retrieve the data source objects. And based on that data source, what I'm doing is I'm explicitly preparing JDBC template object. So very simple, just you are trying to constructing a new object, new of JDBC template, so where we are passing the data source object. So it will give you same thing exactly I'm doing here also. Here we are performing the constructor injection with the help of Spring framework, but here we are doing a manual operation, so manual approach, right? So this is the case number second case. And the first case, what we are doing, we are already preparing in the Spring configuration file, and so the same object which is prepared, I am injecting. Either of the approach you can use it. You don't need to write both of them here, but for your reference I did this. Otherwise only one of the approach is enough. Either you can use this or you can use this approach. Okay, so now once it is ready, and then in the DAO class you can access. Either you can directly inject the this object into your DAO class. You don't need to write a separate class also. For your reference purpose, I have created a separate class and then injected here. Okay, so and then suppose if you have not injected, but if you want to call that, so simply what I'm calling, so I'm loading the Spring configuration file as usual, right? And so once if I load a Spring configuration file, and simply database manager.get JDBC template means it will call case 2 approach, the second case, right? And then so if you want to execute any select query, but I want to get only counts, which we have already seen a SQL query which is already given here, right? So simply there is a method called query for objects. If you want to execute a count for the same query which I'm executing here, okay? Simply I've written select count star from employee. I want to get all the employee records count, and the return type should be an integer. So the integer is an object which I'm getting, and then count star I'm printing the value here. So okay, let me execute this code and then show you the output. So how many number of records are there for your reference in the database? Let me go to connect it to database. See here, basically you have 14 records as of now. So once we execute this query, it should return you the 14 records as an output. Let me run this code, run as Java application. Okay. So this class is being executing. Number of employees counts, the expected result is 14. Okay, it is loading. Spring configuration file, driver file is loaded. Now you have count is 4. So very simple, right? Just in one line you got complete outputs. Am I written any additional code? Is nothing. Okay, just I'm executing and then it is automatically executed in one line of code you're able. So same code if you just write in JDBC, in J2EE JDBC, just think about how many lines of code that you need to write. Okay, so suppose if I want to like get the sum of all the records, maybe sum of, like I want to sum all the 4 numbers, all these 4 numbers I want to sum it. Okay, usually we don't do that operation, but just to show you, if I want to do even some function, anything that you can use it, the same method, but I'm just okay doing the sum of 4 numbers. If you sum, okay, total employees, okay, phone number sum. I'm just using the sum operation. Okay, I'll run this, run as Java application. So okay, looks like my database column name is phone underscore number, but what I'm using is phone number. It's saying that bad SQL grammar, not able to identify a column called phone number. It is unable to identify unknown column is phone number. But okay, as per my database instruction, it is phone underscore number. Okay, now let me run this, run as Java application. Look at, so it is done the summation of all 1 by 1 column, then it is given, okay, it is written you the output. This is how you can do the configuration, okay, and then so this is how you can access JDBC template object and you can perform. Similarly, you can perform insert, update, delete, all the same. Okay, if you are familiar with the SQL queries, and you can execute it. But anyway, I'll show you the rest of other examples. I will try to show you. Okay, so any questions before we move on to the next example? Any doubts on this?
Is there any other methods apart from the query per object? This is only single method.
We have many methods. We have many methods.
Okay. Okay. In case of update, do we need to use this one or any other method? I just wanted to get an idea.
Which update?
In case of if we need to perform bulk updates, in that scenario, should we use query per object or should we use any other method?
Okay, this one is not for update. Okay, this is for retrieval. Query per object is.
What is the method then? I just wanted to have an idea of to update in case of we need it.
You want to update, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to update any record in the database, so you have a method called updates. Update is a method which you can use, or if you want, you can also use a method called execute. So either you can use execute method, or either you can also use update method on the operation. Any DML operations in the database.
Okay.
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 Can you
Yes.
tell? Can you open this Spring config XML? Okay. Can you explain these two, case 2 and case 1, one more time?
Okay. Basically, this part is not required, not at all required, but I'm just trying to injecting the data source object and this object into this class, and where it will maintain all database information. It's called database manager class. Okay. When it comes to the case 1, I'm not really doing anything. So you can, so far until our Spring Core module from project 1 to project 19, we have configured every bean is our custom bean. So our beans we have configured, but first time we are attempting to configuring as a built-in classes as a bean classes. So if you see here, org.springframework.drivermanager data source is a built-in class, and org.springframework.jdbc.core.jdbc template is the built-in class. So these two are the classes, built-in classes which we are configuring, and these two classes are required to perform any dependency injection. So okay, it is expecting to you to pass. These are all the setter injection. So you need to inject these values to prepare your driver manager data source. So similarly, if you want to get this JDBC template object, so if you want, you need to supply MySQL data, sorry, not MySQL, any data source you can supply. So this object will be get ready. And so once this object is ready, so here are a built-in method to perform various operations on the database. Okay, that's the case number 1. You can directly inject this object, so you know how we can inject, so you know how to perform, setter injection, everything. Okay, so just you can inject this class into the DAO, then you can directly perform. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm also doing a second case. I'm injecting to a common class called driver manager data source, and from this class, whenever if I go to any DAO, instead of accessing that, I have a common class driver database manager .get JDBC template. If I call it, will give me a JT object. So once if I have a JT object, then I can execute the required queries in the database.
Okay. Right now, actually, okay, but this one now in first case, database manager class itself is not required, right?
It's absolutely not required. You can completely remove it. For only your reference purpose, I'm injecting those two objects.
So employee DAO.java, we should not create an object of database manager.java, right?
Yes.
We
You don't need
should
to.
not create.
Yes, you can directly get the JT object and then access it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now moving on into our next example.
I have question.
Yeah.
Sir, I have asked you one question. JDBC template is thread safe?
Yes, it is a singleton, and it's thread safe.
So when you are going to call this your in anywhere into your, no need to go with the synchronized render to get the multi-threaded.
Nothing is not required. It is similar to your database connection, right? Similar to your database connection objects.
Okay.
Okay.
Connection object, like when you are going to perform other operation like query for object and update any other thing. So on that, if your environment is multi-thread environment, so we should go anywhere to handle the multi-threading, or just we simply realize that JDBC template will do all those things. It will be always be multi.
Yeah. So to answer that question, so everything will be internally handled by JDBC template object. You don't need to explicitly synchronize anything, so it will automatically manage this. Okay, we don't need to explicitly write anything from outside, until unless if your business logic have that kind of a synchronization logic, so then you can put under that. But otherwise, if you want to plain usage, you want to directly usage, and then so you want to directly perform the operation without interrupting of your business logic, yes, you don't need to explicitly not to configure any synchronization methodology.
Srini,
Okay.
one
Can
more
you
thing.
open the JDBC template? How they have managed that? JDBC template that class .java.
Yeah, I think I would recommend if you can look it in the offline.
Okay, sure.
I can open it, okay, but so if you can look it in the offline, whenever your required things can always look it, right? It's open source, and then so you can add the source and you can look at how they have prepared, how they have designed, how they are really calling. So a lot of information for to look into that. So many methods also as part of this. Okay, you can look at. So there are several methods on this. Okay, execute batch update. So okay, you have all whatever we required, so everything should be have. I'll show you most of them, so I'll try to cover you. Rest of them you can still always depend on this API. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Someone is asking a question, please.
Srini, this database manager is a standard class.
No. This is just I have written for our access. So in my main class, I want to access this GT object. I'm just simply okay using an intermediate call class database manager.
But you can directly give call to from employee DO is your main class, right?
That's what I said, right? So from here you can directly inject and then you can also get it.
But I don't want to miss like if you use this database manager, then how you will write the call here directly.
Yes. So what you need to do is, so whatever the logic so that you are writing here, so you need to pull and then you need to write a separate DAO class. And this class is becoming your client class. So however we have written for all other classes, Spring client, however we are writing, so you need to write. And here you need to just, load the configuration file and then execute your DAO. Simple. In the DAO class, what you need to do is you need to inject the JT objects.
Okay, can you means give an example if possible?
You can transform this to Spring line. Okay. Usually what we will write in the client class, we will load the configuration, right? And you don't need to do all these things, okay? And so you can configure your DAO class is also a bean class, right? Your DAO also can be a bean class. I will remove this main method and okay, I'll remove this main method. Otherwise I'll make changes too. Okay, public, so void get employees. Okay, I don't want to pass any argument, so this is a normal method. Okay, and so in this class Hello? Yeah. So I'm sorry, I was on mute. Okay. So here what you can do, you can inject so your JDBC template object so directly to here. So private JDBC template. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Give me a few minutes. So I'll be joined maybe another 5 minutes. Maybe let's go with 15 minutes in case if you have some time. So if you are getting late, maybe I can join you earlier. Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, so have a look at here. I'm just so setting the generating a setter methods. I'm generating setter methods. So setter method is being generated. Okay, so here I'm calling. So simply, what you can do now, your JDBC template object is there. So simply, I will be call this method. Okay, so this dot, wherever you are calling DB manager, you can avoid. So this dot, okay, JDBC template dot query for objects. The same thing can be also done for here also. Wherever it is applicable, and you can do it the same thing. Okay. And then I'm displaying the employee count. So both of them, it will be the same. Okay, this is the DAO class. What you can do, so if you want to inject, so if you want to participate in the dependency injection, you need to configure as a bean. Otherwise, you can also use annotation methodology simply, right? And so you all know that how you can configure as a bean in both annotations. So simply what I'll do here, I'll configure as a bean. Okay. Okay. Class equal to employee DO. Okay. So this class is required setter injection, that is JDBC template class, which I would like to inject. That's it. When it comes to the client class, what you need to do here, very simple. You can avoid everything simply. Okay, so context dot get bean, look up your bean class. What is the name of bean class which we have written for to perform DAO, EMP DAO? Inject this. So you are looking at that object. So finally the output would be employee DAO class, DAO equal to, you need to perform casting. I'll perform casting. Simply call the DAO operation method, DAO dot get employees. Okay, that's it. That's it. So I'm not doing anything else. I'm not using DB manager at all to perform this operation. Okay, right. So now let me run this client class. Go to run as Java application. Got the outputs? Make sense?
Yeah, right.
Right. So I'm not really depending on any DB manager. In whichever DAO, suppose in the future you have department DAO, and then you can perform the same injection. You know auto wiring, right? Even you don't need to write a setter method. It will automatically look at and then it will inject it. Suppose for example, okay, if you go to annotation version, so very simple, right? So this should be configured as a component, and this should be auto wired. Okay, and you don't need a setter, all this stupid code. Okay, and so simply, okay, and you don't need to configure this is at all. So this is also unnecessary configurations. Okay, and so what else? That's it, right? So simply you need to so enable annotation scanning part, right? So how do you enable the annotation scanning part? We are well known that part. So context colon component scan, right? So context colon component scan. So the base package. So com.easylearn is our base package. That's it. And so with annotation approach as well. Come on. No such bean EMPDO, because I have not mentioned anywhere bean name is this name. In the component I can mention, right, what name I want. So these are all we have learned. Okay, I don't want to go back again all these steps. You can do again yourself as a conversion, then you can do it. Is it working? So much of code we have avoided, right? So in the DAO classes going forward, if you are constructing any DAOs, you don't need to write all this code. Okay, you don't need to configure it in every DAO class here in the bean. Okay, only thing is whichever you want a common things that would you like to inject, only that you can configure, then inject. And you can still, if you are really interested, you can also go to the Java config, completely eliminate this Spring configuration file, go to Java config and then perform that also, right? So you can translate all these examples into in completely annotation mode. So that will be added as a practice for you. At the same time, you'll also learning all these concepts, right? Any questions from anybody?
No.
Okay. I thought to cover you other example, but we went go back again discussing the same concepts. Okay, so probably let's this is a very small module, so which I don't want to spend much time on writing of SQL queries, all this. But anyway, but still I want to cover you all the concepts, the important methods, everything. So probably the next session, so we'll start in on time and then we'll try to complete as much as we can. Okay. So please also you can try to practice from yourself. You can try to execute this query, and then you also have this document, refer these documents, okay, and then try to build your own examples as well. Okay. With that said, that's it I have. Have a good day to all of you and see you on the next session. Bye bye.
Thank you, Joe. Bye.